you stab until he was dead.
And I hurt two little girls, so I deserve to be punished.
Please sit down.
Your Honor.
We're not, ma'am, I'm not having two attorneys. Please sit down.
We're looking at the case of Christopher Teal, a homeless individual charged with sexual assault in Seattle, Washington. According to reports, Teal allegedly sexually assaulted a woman at a Seattle car dealership in 2018. Later, he was arrested and charged with first-degree sexual assault and unlawful imprisonment. Later, Teal attended a court hearing to assess his competency.
This is State of Washington versus Christopher Teal, cause number 181008391, Seattle designation.
Teal, represented by court-appointed lawyer Reed Birkland, was amused when his handcuffs were removed. He raised his arm toward Birkland, provoking a response from a court officer who intervened.
Mr. Teal's present, he's in custody, he's represented by counsel, Mr. Birkland.
Suddenly, without any apparent provocation, Teal snapped.
Standing from his counsel, who I'll defer to in a moment, that they are now stipulating that Mr. Teal...
It took 4 court officers to restrain Teal. They placed a spit mask over his head before escorting him out of the courtroom. Birkland emerged unharmed from the incident. Aside from a bruised ego, he promptly withdrew from the case.
Regarding the Christopher Teal matter.
No.
Okay. I have a question though. Are you running a diminished capacity or insanity or anything of that nature?
I don't have anything to talk to you about.
2 weeks later, Teal returned to the courtroom. However, his primary concern was how his hair looked in the mugshot.
I'd like to know where the they got that photo of me with my short hair. Because that was on Facebook, and I don't have a Facebook.
All right.
So you're on the legitimate question. Like, do they have access to Google?
Teal received a sentence of 102 months to life in prison. Next up is Camia Gamet, who was convicted of murdering her boyfriend in 2013.
You gutted him like a fish in that apartment too. You were relentless. You stabbed until he was dead.
According to reports, Gamet stabbed Marcel Hill multiple times with a kitchen knife and also struck him with a pan.
You end up probably in some kind of domestic. Ultimately hit him in the head so hard with a pan that you actually caved in the front of his skull, and then you stabbed him no less than 12 times.
In court, Gamet displayed no signs of remorse and maintained her innocence.
Anything that you want to tell the court before I impose sentence? Is there anything you want to tell the victim's family who are here today?
I just want to say that I stick by the truth, which is that I did react in self-defense. I did love Marcel, and basically at trial, the way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies, and I do plan to appeal it. And that's all I have to say.
Hill's aunt took the stand to address both Gamet and the court.
You did leave a big hole in our hearts and a void that will never be filled. You took the life of our sister's only child. You took a bloodline out of our family. And we hope that each and every day that you remember the cries of help that he screamed as you plunged that knife in and out of his body.
However, Gamet appeared unaffected by anything she said.
So we, the family of Marcel, would like to thank God for the special gift that you will receive today from the judge.
Is that it?
When I finish, I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. Seriously?
The judge firmly warned Gamet of the use of duct tape if she interrupted again.
If you talk again, I'll have my court officer put a piece of duct tape in your mouth. You understand it? Try it one more time and see what happens to your mouth. You got something else to say?
Afterward, the prosecutor fiercely criticized Gamet, who sat with a smug expression on her face.
We have no choice but to send her where she will also. I can't believe she stands before you doing this morning.
But ultimately, it was the judge who had the final say.
You gutted him like a fish in that apartment too. You were relentless. You stabbed until he was dead. I agree with the family. I hope you prison as well. You know, and if this was a penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
Gamet received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. We're focusing on Cletus Robbins Jr., a 59-year-old from Harlan, Kentucky, currently undergoing a sentencing hearing following a 3-day trial. Robbins has been convicted of numerous disturbingly violent offenses.
Is guilty of 1, kidnapping with serious physical injury, 2, robbery in the 1st degree, assault in the 2nd degree, unlawful imprisonment, wanton endangerment 1st degree, and being a persistent felony offender 1st degree.
As Judge Kent Hendrickson proceeds through the lengthy list of crimes committed by Robbins, the prosecution interrupts. Robbins continuously turns around, giving them angry stares.
The Commonwealth would request that the court give notice to the defendant not to communicate with the Commonwealth.
Inside the courtroom, defendants are typically prohibited from engaging in any form of communication, verbal or nonverbal, with anyone other than their own lawyers. However, Robbins presents a challenge as he does not strictly adhere to these rules.
Hey, now none of that. Hey, none of that. Now just calm down.
Yeah. You calm down.
You take it easy.
Stand up there on that side, please. Settle down, please.
Your ass court here.
Listen, buddy, I'm too old for this.
Hey, I'm too old for this too.
After tensions in the courtroom subside, Robbins stands silently as Judge Hendrickson delivers a severe sentence.
I'll be confined to the state penitentiary for a maximum of 25 years. And that concludes this matter before the court. Thank you.
While the sentencing may close the court proceedings, it does not signify the conclusion of Robbins' journey. That's the sound of Cletus Robbins disrespectfully spitting on one of the prosecuting attorneys. Before being forcibly removed from the courtroom, Robbins issues a final threat.
The court has that on record. We know that was a threat, and we will be saving that record for possible criminal charge.
No further charges were filed against Robbins for his misconduct in the courtroom. His original 25-year sentence remains unchanged, and the following appeal of the case was rejected. Here's Michael Mahler, a former youth pastor at the First United Methodist Church in Troy, facing the consequences of his actions in court. He was charged with felony sexual battery from his involvement with a minor. The case revealed a troubling breach of trust within the religious community, causing disgust from the congregation and the public.
Disgusting. I just hope he gets what he deserves.
Mahler supposedly initiated a mentorship relationship with the victim after she sought his advice at church. Their interactions turned sexual, often occurring at his home. Allegations surfaced in February 2013, resulting in his dismissal from the church. Throughout the trial, Mahler claimed he had no harmful intentions toward the girl, her family, or the church. He expressed remorse and pledged not to engage in such behavior again.
Those that I hurt, it was never my intention to cause harm to her or her family.
Prosecutor Tony Kendall supported prison time, highlighting the victim's significant psychological trauma and presenting evidence of grooming through text messages. Judge Christopher G. recognized the seriousness of Mahler's inappropriate actions and his awareness of them. However, the court faced a hurdle when the victim withdrew from the case, raising concerns about potential external pressures influencing her decision, as noted by Kendall.
I don't want to lay all the blame on her. In talking with her from time to time, it was my impression that she was getting a lot of pressure from church members and other people related to the church.
Despite Pastor David Leckrein's assertions that there was no awareness of pressure on the victim not to testify, conflicting viewpoints complicated the legal proceedings. Due to these circumstances, Mahler's defense team struck a plea deal with the prosecution, leading to an amended charge of aggravated assault. As part of the agreement, Mahler relinquished his ministerial licenses. The modified charge spared him from being subjected to sex offender registration, a consequence of the initial charge.
I truly know that this was a mistake that I made, and I can't take it back. But I know without a doubt that I will do everything I can, and I will never do anything like this again.
While Mahler admitted wrongdoing in a video, he did not face the full extent of the law. His sentence entailed 5 years of court supervision and community control, including strict restrictions on unsupervised contact with minors and contact with the victim. Additionally, he was ordered to serve 60 days in Miami County Jail to safeguard the community and prevent potential future victims. Born on October 1st, 1974, Jermaine Dixon was raised amidst the harsh realities of Brooklyn, New York. The surroundings of poverty and violence shaped him early on, leading him to the street life that seemed almost inevitable. As a teenager, Jermaine joined the notorious Patio Crew, a gang named after their regular hangout spot in a Flatbush restaurant. He quickly made a name for himself within the group, gaining the respect of peers for his role as a tough enforcer, proof of his reputation for violence. In 1992, Jermaine, along with his brother Emil, was convicted for the murder of Alfonso Gooden. This incident led to Jermaine serving 19 years behind bars, facing charges related to both the murder and drug offenses, with the evidence pointing to him as the shooter. His brother Emil was also convicted for his involvement in Gooden's murder and is serving a life sentence. While imprisoned, Jermaine started on a path of transformation, becoming a perfect inmate and earning respect from both fellow prisoners and prison staff. Jermaine Dixon pursued a bachelor's degree in business during his imprisonment and applied for compassionate release, taking full responsibility for his past and expressing a desire to prove his reformed character. In a heartfelt letter to Judge Raymond Deary, he wrote, "I am not the same young man you sentenced 20 years ago. I'm asking for another chance to show you, my family, and society that I am committed to making the right choices. The responsibility for my past actions is mine alone, and I understand the consequences of the path I chose. Please allow me the opportunity to prove that I have changed." Through these words, Jermaine wanted to prove his readiness for a new beginning outside prison walls. Despite his history, Jermaine Dixon was dedicated to transforming his life into a positive force within society. After completing 19 years of his sentence, he was granted parole in 2011. Relocating to Ozone Park in Queens, Jermaine aimed to start anew. Acknowledging his previous wrongdoings, he was firm in his commitment to change. Nonetheless, Jermaine found it challenging to completely break away from his criminal past, facing difficulties in distancing himself from the drug trade and other illegal activities. Despite Jermaine Dixon's dedication to turning over a new leaf, the authorities kept a vigilant eye on him. On the morning of September 6, 2021, in South Ozone Park, a tragic and calculated act of violence occurred. Jermaine, at 46, striving to make a fresh start, was fatally shot at close range at 8 a.m. The assailant, later found to be from Teaneck, New Jersey, was captured on surveillance footage dressed in attire resembling traditional Hasidic clothing. The footage showed the shooter in a white Nissan sedan, with the car's hood, trunk, and door open, seemingly working on the vehicle, which gave the impression of a routine maintenance or repair job. As Dixon neared his Ford Edge SUV, the attacker, who had hidden a gun within the car's engine, approached him from behind. In a sudden and lethal move, the shooter fired at Dixon's head from a very close distance. After the shooting, the assailant searched Dixon but failed to find anything of value. The shooter then closed the hood of the Nissan and left the area in a different vehicle. This attack was not a solitary effort. A lookout accompanied the shooter, who was dressed in white gloves and a white mask and had been tracking Dixon for several hours. The ambush was carefully planned, ending as Dixon was about to get into his car. It was reported that the assailant aimed to steal $10,000 from Dixon, but left the scene without taking anything. The shooting deeply shocked the community, raising alarms about safety and security in the area. Investigators found that Dixon had been residing at a nearby Comfort Inn, and information from those close to the case indicated that he had been unusually watchful, frequently looking over his shoulder while navigating the neighborhood. This behavior hinted that Dixon was aware he might be a target. The motive behind this brutal act was suspected to be linked to the narcotics trade. In the aftermath, detectives quickly turned to surveillance footage from the area, thoroughly reviewing video from multiple cameras. They traced the activities of a man who was captured moving around the neighborhood before putting on a traditional Hasidic disguise. The perpetrator was eventually identified as Ron Reeder, a man with a history of 3 sealed arrests within the city. Combining eyewitness testimonies, surveillance recordings, and ballistic evidence, authorities pinpointed Reeder and another individual who had been surveilling Dixon for hours prior to the fatal encounter. While the search for the accomplice continued, it was clear that Reeder was the one who executed the shooting. Originating from Teaneck, New Jersey, Reeder was raised in a lower middle-class family. During his teenage years, he became involved with a gang notorious for its violent strategies and readiness to employ extreme actions to assert its control over the local narcotics market. Reeder's growth within the gang was marked by his rise as a feared enforcer, willing to do whatever was necessary to achieve his objectives. He had previously served 2 sentences in state prison. In 1986, Reeder was handed a sentence of 4 to 6 years for involvement in a robbery and possession possession of weapons in Brooklyn, ultimately serving 3 years before his release. He later encountered legal troubles again, this time leading to a manslaughter charge that resulted in a 21-year prison term. He was released on parole in 2012. Despite a history filled with crime, Reeder maintained a relatively low post-release profile, staying clear of any major legal issues. Nevertheless, his previous actions resurfaced in 2021 when he was implicated as the gunman in the notable murder of Jermaine Dixon in Queens, New York. Despite his effort to hide his identity with Hasidic attire, Ron Reeder was eventually captured by authorities and now faces charges related to murder and the illegal possession of weapons. A coordinated operation involving the Bergen County Regional SWAT Team and the NYPD led to a raid on Reeder's residence in New Jersey. On February 23, 2023, the 52-year-old was apprehended and later extradited to New York to answer to murder and weapons charges. Justin Jarman faces charges, including 4 counts of attempted murder and involvement in criminal gang activities. On January 3, 2016, a disturbing incident occurred at a train station where a 73-year-old man was assaulted by a teenager demanding money. After the man refused, the assailant attacked him, searched his pockets, and left him in distress. Surveillance identified the attacker as 18-year-old Justin Jarman, associated with the Detroit Taking Over gang. This wasn't his only act of violence. Jarman and 2 fellow gang members were implicated in a drive-by shooting. In October 2016, while cruising in a stolen car in Cleveland, Ohio, they targeted a rival gang member, resulting in 2 innocent children getting seriously injured from the gunfire. Arrested and charged for these crimes, Justin pleaded guilty in November 2017. At his sentencing, the mother of the injured children shared the disturbing impact of the events, supporting a life sentence. When Justin had the opportunity to speak, his earlier defiance was gone, replaced by visible remorse.
I caused pain on the community and her loved ones. And I hurt 2 little girls, so I deserve to be punished.
During his chance to speak, Justin offered an apology, struggling to hold back tears, a sign of what appeared to be genuine remorse. However, the severity of his actions and his violent past weighed heavily on the proceedings. The judge, acknowledging both his remorse and the seriousness of his crimes, sentenced Justin to 45 years in prison. In Phoenix, Arizona, in August 2019, an ironic twist unfolded in the courtroom involving defendant Lamont Payne, who was facing trial for assaulting a corrections officer. On the first day of jury selection, represented by public defender Vladimir Gajic, Payne appeared discontent with the courtroom proceedings, especially displeased with his lawyer's performance. His frustration boiled over as he repeatedly interrupted the judge.
My lawyer ain't gonna speak up. It's plain and simple.
Sir?
You asked him a question just a minute ago about...
Sir?
I've been giving him questions. He won't speak up.
Sir, that's because it's not his turn to ask questions.
Public defender Vladimir Gajic recounted his experience with Lamont Payne to a local news outlet, describing him as disruptive and confrontational in court. Gajic noted that Payne was swearing and rolling his eyes and making a scene, just causing a commotion and being a troublemaker. In response to Payne's behavior, the judge directed him to exit the courtroom. Unexpectedly, Payne lashed out, striking Gajic, his own attorney, directly in the face, an act that took everyone by surprise and escalated the situation dramatically.
You have outbursts, I'm gonna have to remove you.
Now it's appropriate time. I keep telling you he's a problem.
Deputy, please remove him.
That's
The attack left Gajic with a bloody nose, but fortunately, he was not seriously injured. He recalled, "I remember checking my teeth and then realizing they're all there. I didn't feel any force. I didn't feel like pain or anything like that. It was just salty, because you're tasting somebody's skin. It's kind of gross, but that's what I remember." Following the incident, Gajic pressed assault charges and soon found his contract with the Maricopa County Public Defense Service suspended a few months later. Gajic sued over the suspension, claiming he was never informed of the reason behind it. Maricopa County provided a statement suggesting reasons a contract might be suspended, including complaints from clients or their families, poor representation, or too much caseload. Specifically regarding Gajic, the statement pointed to multiple complaints about his lack of communication with clients, another attorney, and PDS, attendance as the cause for the suspension. Reacting to this situation, Gajic said, "What message are they giving to all the attorneys? That we are disposable, even less than disposable to that office." On March 13, 2003, 20-year-old Megan McDonald, who worked at the American Cafe in the Galleria Mall in Orange County, New York, finished her shift. Known as the hardworking and dedicated daughter of a police detective, Megan was beloved for her kindness, generosity, and friendly nature, always ready to help friends and family in need. After her shift, she was spotted withdrawing money from an ATM at the mall before driving past a party her friends were hosting at Greenway Terrace around 7 p.m. Though invited, she chose to meet other friends in Middletown instead. By 7:30 p.m., Megan had reached her friend's place, where they spent the evening chatting, eating, and watching Friends on TV. Planning for an early start the next day due to another work shift, she left at midnight, heading back towards the Green Terrace party she initially bypassed. While it remains unclear why she returned, investigators speculate that her assailant was among the partygoers.
Side when it was being followed by a dark color, either Honda Civic hatchback, dark in color, or hatchback style vehicle with a very loud sound system.
Megan didn't stop to join the party, instead possibly pausing briefly to talk to some friends before driving away. She was last seen entering the parking lot of her apartment complex at Kensington Manor Apartments. Surveillance footage captured her car being followed into the lot by a dark hatchback blaring loud music, marking the last known sighting of Megan. Megan McDonald's car was found the next morning, parked haphazardly at the back of her apartment complex's parking lot, a sign she might have sensed danger and hurried towards her apartment. Unfortunately, Megan never reached her home. For more than a day, her whereabouts remained a mystery until, on March 15, 2003, at 1 p.m., a passerby discovered her body on an isolated trail off Bowser Road. The investigation pointed to her being murdered in the early hours after her last sighting near the Green Terrace party, with blunt force trauma to the head as the cause of death. For 2 decades, the determination to solve Megan's murder never waned, supported by efforts from her family, friends, and a dedicated website, justiceformegan.com, along with the relentless pursuit by law enforcement, including Megan's father, a police detective. The case remained active, with public appeals for information, ongoing evidence collection, and the introduction of new technologies enhancing the investigation. In 2023, breakthroughs in DNA technology and evidence finally led to the arrest of Edward Hawley, already imprisoned for unrelated crimes, marking a significant turn in the long-standing case. Hawley, an ex-boyfriend of Megan's, emerged as the prime suspect, having been under examination and interviewed multiple times throughout the investigation. With Hawley's arrest and the ongoing legal proceedings, there's a renewed focus on seeking justice for Megan. Her life, characterized by her generosity and hard work, was tragically cut short, but her unwavering commitment to solving her murder offers some comfort to her loved ones, who are now hopeful for closure. Lydell Sparks is facing serious allegations, including aggravated assault, armed robbery, and murder. Travis Henry, a 22-year-old in search of love, believed he had found a connection online. After 2 months of digital communication, he decided to meet the woman in person. On June 22, 2020, Travis drove from Montgomery, Alabama to Columbus, Georgia in his BMW, unaware of the danger awaiting him. The next morning, Columbus police discovered Travis's body on the street with a fatal gunshot wound to the chest. The revelation that Terriona Horton, the woman he intended to meet, was implicated in his murder left Travis's family struggling from the betrayal and the loss.
A lot of information wasn't released, but we do know that they are on the right track. They got who did this, and I just pray that she gets the maximum penalty.
Within 2 months of the tragic incident, charges were brought against all involved in the robbery. Lydell Sparks, 19, identified as a member of the gangster Disciples, was pinpointed as the triggerman in the case. His conviction came swiftly in a Columbus court, where he was found guilty of the murder. Despite his young age of 19 at the time of the crime, Lydell was not new to the legal system, having collected 8 mugshots and multiple charges in Muskogee County over the previous 2 years. His most recent brush with the law before this conviction conviction involved a stabbing incident in jail. Given his juvenile status at the time, he received a relatively lenient sentence of 1 year in prison. However, this time he faced adult charges. During the pre-sentencing hearing, a surprising turn of events unfolded. The defense attorney, rather than the prosecution, recommended a life sentence without the possibility of parole for Lydell. The judge concurred with this recommendation, leaving little room for leniency. Given the opportunity to address the court, Lydell erupted into an angry outburst.
His job, he has not been doing anything. He told me to my face in a cell that your father is his close friend and that it is good that we got you as my judge.
During his tirade, Lydell unleashed his frustration on multiple fronts. He attacked his attorney for what he considered inadequate representation and criticized the judge and district attorney for their roles in his conviction. He strongly accused the witnesses who testified against him of lying. Lydell's rant took a more personal turn when he addressed the emotional reactions of Travis's family during the trial. He noted their tears throughout the proceedings, but pointed out that their behavior had changed. Some members of Travis's family were laughing, while others chose to leave the courtroom amidst his outburst.
These people go here, this man's family, come here and cry and but they're throwing my family when after we leave from court. They're on Facebook throwing my little sisters. But they come here, talking about they're on ministry. Come out here.
In response to Lydell Sparks' outburst, the judge chose to proceed to the next hearing, undiscouraged by the disruption. The case against Joseph Zeeler took a dramatic turn in Lee County, Florida. Convicted for the 1990 murders of 11-year-old Robin Cornell and her 32-year-old babysitter, Lisa Story, Zeeler's arrest came decades later in 2016 after DNA collected in an unrelated assault case matched evidence from the crime scene. His trial was marked by defiance and disruption. He was observed making obscene gestures to the camera, shouting at jurors, and was accused of trying to intimidate a witness from testifying. Fast forward to June 2023, during a court session before his official sentencing, the jury had already recommended the death penalty for Zeeler, leaving the final sentencing decision to the judge. In a surprising twist, Zeeler signaled for his attorney, Kevin Shirley, to approach. The deputies allowed them privacy for what was presumed to be a confidential attorney-client discussion. However, Zeeler's intent was not to talk. Instead, he used the opportunity to assault his attorney physically.
Relax. I'm calm.
Shirley, are you okay?
I'm fine.
I am relaxed. I'm calm. Relax.
I used to box. I've taken a lot better shots than that.
Yeah, well, I'm relax. Yeah.
In a sudden and violent act, Zeeler elbowed his attorney, Kevin Shirley, in the face during what was supposed to be a private conversation. Remarkably, Shirley quickly recovered from the assault. He expressed his shock at the attack, stating, "I had no idea he was going to do something like that. Obviously, he's been planning on that." But as he was going down, he said he was sorry he missed. Amidst these courtroom dramas, Zeeler was pushing for a retrial, leveraging changes in Florida law regarding the death penalty. Previously, a unanimous jury decision was required to impose the death penalty. However, the law had evolved, now only requiring a majority vote. In Zeeler's sentencing, 10 of the 12 jurors had voted for the death penalty. He opposed the idea that applying the new law to his decades-old case was wrong. The judge, however, was not persuaded by Zeeler's arguments for a retrial based on the legal changes. Ultimately, Zeeler's request for a new trial was rejected, and the judge proceeded to formally sentence him to death. Carol Reif, at 59, was remembered by her loved ones as a beacon of kindness with a deep appreciation for nature. Working at the Cherry Hill Insurance Agency, she was not only a dedicated professional, but also a nurturing mother whose warmth and compassion knew no bounds. Her daughter, Dawn Santani, fondly recalled Carol's gentle spirit and remarkable capacity to infuse love and kindness into every aspect of her life. Carol faced challenges with remarkable resilience, and her passion for running showed her strong spirit. An avid marathon runner, she remained unfazed even in the aftermath of the tragic Boston Marathon bombing, demonstrating her refusal to live in fear and her unwavering commitment to the sport she loved. Dawn Santani reflects on her mother, Carol's relentless drive to keep running in 5Ks 5Ks and half marathons despite any challenges, representing a powerful message of resilience. We won't be intimidated. Carol's sudden disappearance on June 21, 2013, sparked immediate concern when she missed a family trip and didn't answer her phone. The Gloucester Township community, along with local police, mobilized to find her, discovering Carol's keys in her apartment at Lakeview Apartments and her car undisturbed in the parking lot. The search turned to despair when, on June 24, 2013, detectives found Carol's body hidden in a secluded wooded area behind an old maintenance building off Lower Landing Road, a tragic end that left her family and community mourning the loss of a beloved figure. Carol Rife's disappearance and following death left an irreplaceable loss, finishing a life filled with vibrancy and spirit. In the wake of her tragic demise, investigators clung to the possibility of uncovering the truth through DNA evidence. They gathered samples carefully from a pair of her jeans and an empty beer bottle found in her apartment, hoping for leads. Yet, the initial promise of these clues dimmed when DNA tests came back unconvincing. Declared a homicide, the precise circumstances of Carol's death had no clarity, with technological limitations at the time hampering the medical examiner's ability to determine the cause of death. Despite these challenges, detectives remained determined, carefully navigating the intricacies of the investigation in search of answers. As time passed, however, the complexities of the case only grew, eventually leading it into the frustrating realm of cold cases, with more questions than answers and a community left to handle the loss of one of their own. In May 2023, a breakthrough revived the investigation into Carol Rife's murder, breathing new life into a case that had long seemed quiet. Detectives in Camden County, Gloucester Township, had never ceased their efforts since Carol's body was discovered back in 2013. Their unwavering commitment to solving the case and their pursuit of justice for Carol and her family finally began to bear fruit as they gathered promising leads that pointed them in a new direction. Thanks to significant advances in forensic technology, investigators were able to revisit DNA evidence from the crime scene with a fresh perspective. This evidence, which had previously failed to deliver decisive results, was now subject to the inspection of modern analytical methods, offering hope that the truth behind Carol Rife's untimely death might finally be uncovered. Detective Jankowski, representing the dedication of the investigative team, shared their optimism, stating, "We're very hopeful that we'll be able to move forward with this case and bring justice to Carol Rife and her family." Nearly a decade after Carol Rife's murder, detectives remained determined to solve the case. Detective Jankowski encouraged public cooperation, signaling that every piece of information could be key. This determination led to a significant breakthrough, strengthening hope among Gloucester Township's residents for potential closure in the long unsolved case of their beloved community member. On May 10, 2023, Joseph Grissoff, a 59-year-old man, was charged with first-degree murder. The arrest occurred in Moorestown, carried out by the U.S. Marshals Service's New York-New Jersey Regional Fugitive Task Force, Camden Division. Grissoff, who worked as a maintenance employee at the same apartment complex where Carol Rife lived and was her neighbor, had been previously questioned by police soon after Carol's body was found. Detective Jeremy Jankowski from the Camden County Prosecutor's Office noted that while Grissoff had been interviewed and provided a statement early in the investigation, details of that statement were not being revealed at this stage. During his interrogation, Grissoff confirmed he knew Rife and had even complimented her previously, but he strongly refuted any claims of having been inside her apartment. Initially, the investigation turned up potential DNA evidence on Rife's jeans and an empty beer bottle found within her living space, but early DNA testing did not lead to a definite result. However, the situation of the investigation dramatically changed with the arrival of improved DNA analysis techniques. A review of the evidence uncovered convincing evidence. Prosecutors announced findings suggesting that the DNA on the jeans and the beer bottle contained traces from both Rife and Grissoff. After his arrest, Joseph Grissoff, now living in Mount Laurel, was taken to the Camden County Correctional Facility to await a detention hearing. It's important to remember that these charges are allegations, and Grissoff has not been convicted in Carol Rife's murder. Susan Marie Mellon's story is a harrowing one, where she spent an astounding 17 years behind bars for a crime she did not commit. Accused of participating in the fatal beating of Richard Daley, a homeless individual, Mellon was sentenced to life in prison without the chance for parole at the age of 42. Images of her during an interrogation capture a moment of desperation as she pleads with a detective to believe in her innocence, insisting she had no role in the crimes.
Anyway, are you sick, ill, or injured? Do you have any medical problems?
No, but I do.
Okay, I'm gonna book you. No, I'm not gonna believe. I'm talking homicide. A man was. All right.
Susan was convicted based on the testimony of an informant whose credibility was later revealed to be severely compromised, as the individual was found to be a habitual liar.
I would never, from my heart and my soul, I would never let somebody do that to anybody. I didn't hate Rick. I would never let anybody do somebody I hated. I had feelings for the man. He was good to me. He was good to me. He was good to my kids.
During Susan's interrogation, she steadfastly maintained her innocence, strongly denying any involvement in the murder. However, Detective Wynn from the LAPD remained unconvinced. In fact, Wynn was so convinced of Susan's guilt that she arrested her for murder before the interrogation concluded. Feeling abandoned, and with no one else to turn to, Susan found comfort in prayer, hoping against hope that she wouldn't be arrested for a crime she didn't commit. Fast forward, 17 years later, Susan, now 59 years old, stands on the brink of exoneration in a Torrance courthouse.
Petition is granted, the judgment is vacated, the conviction is overturned, and as to Miss Mellon, the case is dismissed.
Witness the moment as tears of joy stream down Susan's face, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. As she embraces her grandchild for the first time, she expresses her unwavering belief that the truth will eventually prevail.
I even wrote freedom on the bottom of my tennis shoes with a black marker because I believed I was going to be free.
Throughout her ordeal, Susan never wavered in her faith and held on to her conviction that one day she would be on the right side. Now that this long-awaited day had finally arrived, her joy overflowed, encouraging her to break into a celebratory dance. As Susan embraced her family, she extended forgiveness to those who had wrongfully imprisoned her. She eagerly looked forward to sharing a McDonald's Happy Meal with her youngest daughter, indicative of the day they were unable to enjoy one due to her unjust arrest. David Hall, charged with driving under the influence and driving with a suspended license, stands before Judge John Hurley in Broward County for his bond hearing. However, the true surprise unfolded when Hall unleashed his outburst in the courtroom. As Judge Hurley begins to read the charges, Hall interrupts.
Mr. Hall, DUI, expired driver's license.
Good morning, Judge. Sir, I haven't said for the court how I'm appearing today.
Hall interrupts, informing the judge that he hasn't yet stated how he's appearing in court. However, the judge calmly reassures Hall that he will address that matter shortly.
I'm not asking you yet. Just give me a moment, all right? I need to look at your record.
Nevertheless, Hall's odd legal approach persists as he identifies himself as the agent and settler for David Hall.
Today I'm appearing as the agent and settler for David Hall.
Okay. Could you get Mr. Hall for me then, sir? Where is he?
I go by that name, sir. My name sounds exactly like the defendant's, and I'm here to settle that matter today.
The judge inquires whether Hall and David Hall are the same person, to which Hall responds that he's an individual, not a person, and claims a difference between himself and David Hall.
Are you and David Hall one and the same person?
I'm not a person, I'm an individual. David Hall is a person, I am a private individual.
This exchange causes some confusion, but the judge maintains his composure. Undeterred by Hall's legal maneuvering, Judge Hurley sets the bond while sarcastically acknowledging Hall's multiple self-identifications.
May I say something else for the record, sir?
Go ahead, sir.
I appear here today as the settler, agent, not the person, but the individual. And I don't think I should have. You understand the difference between a person and an individual.
And you're the individual, but you're not the person. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. I'm going to write that down.
However, the judge notes that Hall's new charges violate his original bond conditions. As a result, regardless of how Hall refers to himself, he won't be released from jail unless he can pay the bond amount.
Here's what we're going to do. The settler, the agent, the individual, and maybe even the person, David Hall, has been charged with DUI. So today, the court's going to set the settler, the agent, the individual's bond, and even the person's bond today, $10,000, because the settler, the agent, the individual and the person has not stopped driving, even though the settler, the agent, the individual, and the person continues to drive without a driver's license.
May I post bond, sir?
Finally, it's Judge Hurley's turn to play games.
Well,
Is there any other?
Are you asking me as the settler, the agent, the individual, or are you asking me as the person?
Sir, I'm asking, as the individual appearing before you today, the
Wait,
opportunity.
who are you speaking on behalf of right now?
Sir, I don't understand that question. I believe that you're trying to confuse me now. I'm not the person, sir.
Okay, when
I am
you
not
see the
the
person,
person.
David Hall, tell him he's not leaving jail either, all right? Well, have a nice day.
In the end, despite Hall's creative approach to identity and the law, his bond is set at $10,000, and he is not granted bail because he violated his existing bond conditions. In the aftermath of the trial at Macomb County Circuit Court, 3 gang members, Kenneth Hill, Jamar Robinson, and Darius Diaz Gaskin, were prosecuted for the murder of a Clinton Township Party store owner. The trio entered the Moonlight Party store on March 28, 2014, fatally shooting the store owner, Basim Salaka, in the back, without giving him a chance to surrender his money. According to the victim's sister, Salaka had always instructed his employees to comply with armed robbers and surrender all the money if such a situation arose. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury found Hill, Robinson, and Diaz Gaskin guilty of first-degree murder, armed robbery, felony firearm possession, and conspiracy to commit armed robbery. Judge Mary Cherzanovsky then handed down life imprisonment sentences without the possibility of parole to the gang members. As the judge delivered their sentences, the culprits showed no remorse. However, the drama didn't end there. After the sentencing, Robinson directed a statement to Salaka's sister, suggesting that the ordeal was far from over. Offended by this remark, the judge intervened, leading to a tense exchange between Robinson and herself. Timothy DiMatteo, a 34-year-old Hollywood musician, faced accusations of shoplifting at Walgreens.
Yes, sir.
You know me, don't you?
No.
DiMatteo's troubles began when he was observed placing nutritional supplements down his pants and then entering a Walgreens bathroom. After being confronted by a Walgreens employee about the stolen supplements, he returned them, but not without causing a scene. He cursed the employee, kicked merchandise, and damaged a 12-pack of Coca-Cola before leaving the store. Police eventually caught up with A in a nearby Publix, leading to his arrest on charges of petite theft and property damage.
My first, second, third, fourth, 13th, 14th Amendment rights have been violated.
While DiMatteo's crimes are disgraceful, his behavior in the courtroom during his bond hearing before Broward Judge John Hurley is truly astonishing.
Bathroom to take a piss and wash my hands, and the manager's in there waiting for me, thinking I'm shoplifting. I wasn't shoplifting anything.
No?
No.
DiMatteo argued that he was innocent and unjustly arrested. However, it became clear that this wasn't DiMatteo's first brush with the law. A prosecutor informed Judge Hurley that DiMatteo was on probation for grand theft, escalating the confrontation further.
Additionally, on September 29th of this year, he was placed on 18 months probation for grand theft.
As the judge tried to look into the facts of the case, DiMatteo chose to express himself in a rather spectacular manner. However, his performance only drew the attention of corrections officers. Following DiMatteo's disruptive behavior, they had no choice but to forcibly remove him from the courtroom. The bond hearing proceeded in his absence.
Please sit down.
Your Honor.
Ma'am, I'm not having two attorneys. Please sit down.
In the end, DiMatteo's bond was revoked, and he was remanded into custody. While his property damage charge was dismissed, he was ordered to pay for the petty theft. In Detroit, a judge made a firm decision to send the mother of a drunk driver to jail after she laughed during a victim's testimony about the tragic consequences of her daughter's actions. Judge Kanana Lillard abruptly halted a sentencing hearing due to inappropriate behavior from individuals in the courtroom. As emotions ran high, Amanda Kosal, 25 years old at the time, received a sentence ranging from 3 to 15 years for causing a fatal accident while driving under the influence. Kosal admitted to drinking before the accident, which resulted in the death of Jerome Zerker, 31, and serious injuries to Brittany Johnson, also 31. Despite the judge becoming emotional while reading impact statements, she found the responses of some relatives distracting and quickly scolded them. Judge Lillard, unyielding and maintaining order, addressed a disruptive individual as a clown and ordered them to leave the room.
You can go too. Whoever can sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member, this is a court of law. You cannot come down to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice and act any way you want to act, because if you don't know how to act, you can go to jail. Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt. Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt. Anybody else want to go? Try it.
She addressed the other family members who remained seated in the audience.
These are very serious matters, and I understand you all are upset because your loved one is going to prison, but guess what? She's going to prison for the choices that she made.
The following morning, Donna tearfully apologized to the judge after spending the night behind bars.
Yes, I deeply apologize for what I did. I was under a lot of stress. And I deeply apologize for what I did in your court. I just needed to get out. And it's been very hard for me this year, and I know for the other family, and I'm so sorry for what I did, and I know it was wrong, and I apologize.
So I will modify your sentence for direct criminal contempt from 93 days to 1 day with credit for time served, and you should be released today.
God bless you.
In the aftermath of the tragic accident in the summer of 2017, Donna's daughter received a jail sentence ranging from 3 to 15 years. She admitted to drinking before her vehicle swerved across the center line, resulting in a collision with an SUV. This incident led to the death of Zerker and inflicted serious injuries upon Brittany Johnson, who was also present in the vehicle. This is the case of Derek Wright, who is facing a speeding charge in a Louisville, Kentucky courtroom. Initially, the atmosphere appears calm, but it takes a sudden turn when Judge Sarah Michael Nicholson notices something unusual in Wright's paperwork.
It's not the best chili I've ever
Deep fried bacon fry?
Yeah. Bacon fried up and then kind of crumble it, and then you put it in.
Bacon makes everything better.
As Wright attempts to depart, the judge intervenes, revealing that Wright has an active warrant related to domestic violence, a revelation Wright disputes as a mistake.
Whoa, where are you going?
Where you going? No, not to rush. No, have a seat.
Okay. So I can't go to the restaurant? Okay. What can I make a call for my mom? In a minute.
You can do it.
The case got dismissed.
We're verifying it.
I went to court for that Tuesday. It got dismissed.
Sir, I need you to calm down.
We always verify.
Yeah, but
If it's dismissed, you're good. If not, I'm gonna take care of custody.
I need to call my mama if I'm gonna get arrested because this is something new to me because this is the only thing that I was supposed to go to court for.
The true surprise doesn't come from the crime, but rather from Wright's shocking behavior during the sentencing. Upon confirming the validity of the warrant, deputies move forward to take Wright into custody, encouraging him to request an opportunity to call his mother.
It's unserved, so it's still good.
Okay.
Sir, you need to calm down, okay? They're gonna go ahead, they're gonna execute this. They'll let you take some time to call your mom. Just stay quiet, don't say anything, okay?
As they attempt to escort him to a designated area for the call, he resists, leading to a struggle.
Thank you.
The deputies successfully subdued Wright but faced continued resistance, provoking one of them to utilize a taser. In response, Wright screams, but they eventually manage to gain control and remove him from the scene. Fortunately, neither Wright nor the deputy sustained serious injuries, although the officer's glasses were broken during the altercation. Following the incident, Wright is charged with third-degree assault, resisting arrest, criminal mischief, and disorderly conduct. He pleads guilty to the assault charge and is sentenced to a 3-year probation period. The other charges, including the initial speeding offense, are dropped. Moving on to the case of Dale Roy Greenman, who finds himself in an Orange County courthouse in Orlando, Florida, for a bond hearing following theft charges. Greenman stands accused of stealing a pack of cigarettes, a Bic lighter, and a Gatorade from a 7-Eleven. As the hearing commences, Judge Carly Wish addresses Greenman directly.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell me your name, please?
Hello, Your Honor.
State your name.
Mr. Greenman.
Can you tell me your name?
Greenman.
However, tensions rose as discussions shifted towards potential charges. While Greenman's bond was $250, he awaited any offer to lessen his potential jail time. Regrettably, due to his out-of-state criminal history, no such offer was presented.
You were arrested for petty theft. Did you find probable cause? Miss Kenny Swanson, did you have an offer?
I did not, Your Honor.
No offer? Is that due to the out-of-state criminal history?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to this hearing, Greenman was charged with tampering with evidence in another case, which elevated his current misdemeanor charge to a felony.
Based on your prior, so I can't do anything with your case today. I am going to appoint the public defender for you.
When Judge Wish informed him of this potential enhancement, Greenman expressed his dissatisfaction, making his feelings known to the judge.
That's horse. You do whatever the you want.
Excuse me?
My name is Mr. Greenman. I'm a witness of the United States federal government. I demand some respect, you. Let's get a jail for how long y'all did and figure out what you're doing.
All right, he can be removed once y'all get him out.
Now.
Undeterred by the disruption, Judge Wish proceeded with the proceedings. Addressing the case's specifics, she emphasized the importance of not contacting victims or witnesses. Next, Greenman's bond was set at $1,000, and he was released on recognizance.
And I'm going to set his bond at $1,000.
However, shockingly, he failed to appear at the pre-trial hearing, leading to a warrant for his arrest being issued. Meet Sean Riker, a convicted felon who found himself in a Racine, Wisconsin court for a pre-sentencing hearing. Riker's history is stained by violence, including disturbing crimes against his own family, such as sexual assault, physical abuse of a child, and reckless endangerment. Notably, he had previously served a 12-year sentence in federal prison for detonating pipe bombs in Utah. However, if you expected Riker to show remorse, prepare yourself for his shocking behavior during the proceedings. During the trial, Riker displayed utter disregard for the proceedings. Shackled and wearing a spit mask due to previous escapes from jail and uncooperative behavior, Riker wasted no time in launching a vicious tirade against Judge Wayne Merrick, the very person tasked with deciding his fate.
The idea, Merrick? Huh? You got me look like a clown? Stupid punk. Merrick. You! I'm killing all you Wayne. I got your address, Wayne Merrick.
After confronting the judge, Riker turned his attention to the prosecutor.
Is that punk? What the do you want?
Eventually, he was removed from the court.
Riker failed to appear at his sentencing. Despite his absence, the court handed down a sentence of 200 years in prison. Riker subsequently appealed the sentence, but his appeal was unsuccessful. Next up is Jesse Rose, who once had aspirations of becoming a rugby league player. However, he now finds himself in a courtroom in Wollongong, Western Australia, for a sentencing hearing. Rose had pleaded guilty to the charge of reckless wounding for an assault that was captured on surveillance video. The incident unfolded in a pub, where Rose and his friend were requested to leave by security due to Rose's intoxicated behavior. Rather than complying, Rose became embroiled in a physical altercation with a security guard. Matters took a grave turn when Rose threw a drinking glass at the guard, inflicting severe injuries. During the sentencing hearing, Rose's attorney made a case against imprisoning him, asserting that he had positively transformed his life by securing steady employment and displaying responsible behavior. However, Judge Andrew Hassler remained resolute in his decision, deeming the assault too grave for leniency. Consequently, Rose was handed a 14-month prison sentence. Yet, Rose's response to the verdict was anything but calm. Fortunately, officers were present to intervene and prevent further disruption. However, Rose's courtroom outburst resulted in additional charges of property damage and assaulting a law enforcement officer. So, he suffered an extra 8 months on top of his original 14-month sentence. This is the Wisconsin case involving Taylor Shabuziness. At 25 years old, she was convicted of killing her partner while they were involved intimately, claiming she was under the influence of methamphetamine. In her drug-induced state, Shabuziness not only strangled her 24-year-old partner, Shad Theron, with a metal chain, but also sexually abused his deceased body and dismembered him. When his mother returned home, she discovered her son's severed head in a bucket in the family's basement. During her interrogation with authorities, Shabuziness admitted to choking him to death and mutilating him.
I'm just like, I think I went a little too far because I was blacking out while I was doing it, right? And then I look at him, I'm like, he's already purple. I'm like, fuck, I'm like, I don't know if is he good? Is he good? But then when I woke up, during the blackout moment, he was coughing up blood. I'm like, I don't know. I just kept on going.
But when did you start, cutting up his body?
I don't know, almost right away. I was and cutting at the same time.
Okay. But what about the rest of his body parts? Did that take all day? Did you?
I was getting pissed off at the dismemberment process, actually.
Did it take a while? It took a while?
Yeah, because I was nodding out. So
Okay, so you're kind of slipping, kind of nodding in and out. Have you taken any other drugs?
I should have took drugs. I probably would have helped, but I didn't.
So you dismembered the body too?
Yeah.
And what did you do with the body parts?
Oh, they're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. I was gonna bring them with them. And then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
Did you bring anything with you?
Yeah, it's in the van.
What?
It's in the van. It's, what is it? I don't know, a foot maybe.
The what?
I think it's a foot.
A foot in the van?
A leg maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it all. And then I'm like, man, this is messy. So then I just left it. I got lazy.
Okay.
I got lazy and that's what I did. So I'm like,
okay. So there's going to be maybe a foot or a leg in the van. And then, what did you do with the head?
I forgot that was in the van, so, yeah.
What did you do with the head?
The head, I put it in that bucket, that black bucket.
Black bucket?
With the blanket on top.
Okay. And then where'd you leave it?
Leave the head? The head's still in the bucket. It's right by the stairs.
By the stairs?
In court one day, alongside her attorney Quinn Jolly, Taylor Shabuziness faced a delay in her criminal trial. While handcuffed, she launched an attack on Jolly, striking him with her elbow. Jolly pushed her away, and a deputy intervened, attempting to restrain her. However, Shabuziness fiercely resisted, leading to a disturbing struggle captured by the deputy's body cam. Eventually, the courtroom was cleared as authorities sought to regain control of the situation.
You went off on your attorney, Taylor. You went crazy on your attorney.
You can't do that here.
You okay?
Yeah.
You're gonna stay here for a minute, all right?
Okay.
Are you able to sit up, Taylor?
She can, Mom. She's gonna stay right where she's at.
Unsurprisingly, Mr. Jolly, her attorney, made the decision to withdraw from the case following the courtroom altercation, despite Shabuziness pleading not guilty by reason of insanity, asserting that she was unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of her actions due to a mental condition. The Wisconsin jury rejected this defense. Instead, they found her guilty of intentional homicide, abuse of a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. The jury concluded that she was not insane at the time of the crime, so Shabuziness received a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.